Good evening, folks. Greg Lammers here. This is one of my first YouTube videos other than doing some with racing footage, so bear with me here. I'm a mechanic, been in the field over 40 years, and I've seen a lot of things, but you always get a few that stump you. I've had about 3 of these now in the last 8 to 12 months towed into my shop where they're either running, barely running, or won't run at all. Typically, it's no fuel pump. So what I found is this is on late 90s, early. This one happens to be a 2005 Chevy Express 1-ton van, but I believe the pickups and a lot of the vehicles have the same thing. A lot of the Chevy vehicles. So, but here's what I found is a bad ground from the engine to the chassis. Typically, the first clue for me is not running in an ABS code, especially on a GM, because you got to remember the GM vans and pickups, the ABS module is grounded to the frame, and this ground is what grounds it to the frame. So you have the fuel pump, which is also grounded to the frame. Those are both competing for ground, and when this ground fails, this braided line fails, this one happened to look fine, but when I grabbed it, it just pulled apart. The other half's still up in there. So basically, it's as simple as making up a new ground wire. This is incorporated on a GM. This is incorporated in with the ground from the battery down to the engine block, right next to on this particular vehicle, it's right next to the AC compressor. There's a bolt in the block. So this one, short of going to GM and getting a whole new cable, I just made up a new ground, left what was on there of this left, made a new one to the block, or excuse me, to the frame. So you get one that's not running. This one had all kinds of codes, but when I put this on and started it up, it started right up, ran like a clock. ABS code went away. 3 engine codes that were in it, I cleared them and they've stayed away. So keep a watchful eye on this. I will show you underneath this vehicle. You bear with me here a second. Where this actually is underneath. So you look up here, this is where this ground would go, is right up here. You can see what's left of the old one there. I just made up a new ground wire, ground the frame down a little bit, and clean the bolt up and put it back in. Then I'll spray with a little protectant. But yeah, that's it right there. Nothing to it. So yeah, this is a Chevy Express van. But I've seen 2 GMs I've had towed in, one identical to this one. This happens to be a fleet customer of mine. And he also had another truck, which was a Ford E350. Now the Fords don't have the ABS module on the frame, but they ground, basically the fuel pump grounds through what's called a fuel pump driver module back on the back, almost to the rear bumper. And they ground the frame from the body. So basically the same style of ground strap as GM. It's just that it goes from and that's typically right on the E-Vans. I'm not sure on the pickups, but on the E-Vans, it's right behind the driver's door underneath. It goes from the frame cross member, from a body cross member to a chassis to the frame. So, but same deal, wouldn't run. Had to have it towed in here and looked up there, and that one there again, to look at it, you wouldn't know there's anything wrong. But the minute I grabbed it, it just fell apart in my hands. So yeah. So if you run into that, hope this helps, and we'll see you again.